Hi, a very good afternoon to one and all. I, Ocean Patrick Simon, along with my co-host Sahil Setia, would like to welcome you all to the keynote address of Sapiens 2021, the annual management conclave of Great Lakes Institute of Management, Gurgaon. Thank you all for joining in. Great Lakes Institute was established in 2010, and since its inception, the institute has been open to changing industry dynamics, adopting programs, and introducing courses that make sure its students are equipped for the future. It is the youngest B school to get an AMBA accreditation, and very recently, it also obtained the MBA accreditation with autonomous status. It's a proud moment for all of us.
Each year, we organize Sapiens to strengthen industry academia connect and create opportunities for our students to learn best practices from practitioners. The theme for Sapiens are well thought and flow in logical progression. In the previous edition of Sapiens, we deliberated upon crisis inspiring innovation practices which the industry had adopted while dealing with the pandemic. The theme this year is purpose driven business in the post pandemic world. The deliberations would be revolving around interdependence of businesses, communities, employees, consumers, and other stakeholders. Whether it's working to create a safe working environment for employees, reorganizing supply chains to make them more sustainable, or, or offering customers more generous payment terms and providing products and expertise to the community. The pandemic has demonstrated that no one can survive and thrive unless all stakeholders work together. We would now like to request Rajpal sir to deliver his keynote address. Mr. Sudhir Rajpal is an IIM Ahmedabad alumnus and an IS officer of 1990 batch. Mr. Rajpal has served across various departments covering numerous industries and domains. He is the Additional Chief Secretary of Government of Haryana and also the CEO of Gurugram Metropolitan Development Authority and Faridabad Metropolitan Development Authority. Earlier, he has served as the Commissioner, Municipal Corporation of Gurgaon for around 2 years before his posting as the Director General of Public Relations in 2012. He has also been the MD of Haryana State Industrial and Infrastructure Development Corporation. He is a sought-after speaker in innumerable national and international forums. So without further ado, I would request Rajpal sir to grace the audience with his words of wisdom. Over to you, Rajpal sir.
Thank you once again. And it's a pleasure today to be a part of this management festival, a management event of all of you young aspiring graduates of the Great Lakes Institute of Management. I'm really pleased to be interacting with all the young minds, and the sapiens, the word which you've used, the title that you've used for your management festival is, I think, very evocative, because it means that you are going to use your wisdom, you are going to use your judgment in all aspects of decision making from now onwards, once you graduate from here. And I think that is the key, rational judgment, and optimize every decision making. I think that is the key by which great managers can become great leaders. Great managers can set up and run great organizations, and that is how great managers can help in further developing and changing this world. I'm sure all of you have great dreams, very very aspiring and aspirational minds all of you possess at this stage. And therefore, if you can go ahead and face the challenges in life with your own judgment, with your wisdom, then I'm sure you'll all have a great successful career. Today being a day in which you've identified a certain focus for this festival of yours. You are trying to grapple with the post-COVID world, and we are looking at various aspects by which the new world order, in a way, at least in the industry and management side, I think things have really changed considerably, and absolutely new paradigms have evolved in the last 1.5 years itself, which can really revolutionize the way we work, the way we think, and the way we'll all perform in our careers ahead. So we need to be aware of what our new responsibilities are, what are the new ways in which we have to uh, carry out our our duties, our work roles. Everything has underwent a change. This is one thing which we all must realize and which we all must appreciate. The world has become hugely interdependent. I think that is one key learning from this COVID crisis that we've all seen happening around us. How every country initially was left to itself. They all had to uh, face the challenges on their own. But then the world has come together, and the world has realized that we cannot get over this crisis unless we all come together. Similarly, we are facing a similar situation when we look at the climate crisis. All of you must have followed the Glasgow conference, which just concluded in England, in Scotland, and how we see that all these new problems which the world is facing are not the problems of an individual country or an individual region, but these are the problems of the entire world. And how you, as corporate citizens, once you start running organizations, how will you face and meet all these challenges? I think will be the test of your wisdom, the test of your judgments, test of your sapience, in fact. So I'm glad that in this festival of yours today, where I'm sure there'll be many interactions that you'll have among yourselves. You'll have interactions with several speakers, with your own faculty, and with all of you learning from each other. You will definitely arrive at certain basic levels of understanding all within yourself to be able to face the challenges ahead. As students and as key learners of the various disciplines that you study in your institutes of management, it's very important that you learn how to handle issues, how to solve problems. After all, management is all about problem solving at the end of the day. You have to look at various issues around you, you have to analyze them, and then optimize the alternative that you choose. Out of several alternatives that you have to choose the most optimal one, and that is the way you keep going ahead, keep making further and further progress. So if that is the lesson that you've learned, if that is the learning you have imbibed, and if that is the the way you have experienced your life and your daily activities in the institute, I think you're all set for your next phase of life. I presume that in this festival, both the years of your MBA program, all the students must be there, those who have just joined, and those who would be having this as the last year of their college education, and those who would be now seeking placements and actively looking forward to working in the real world environment outside the the cozy confines of an institute. So those of you who are set to face challenges in the corporate world, in the those of you who can uh, who might choose other kinds of careers, not just the corporate world, but maybe some of you might want to set up your own startups. Some of you might want to work in the NGO sector. Some of you might even join the public service like I did so many years back. I'm sure there are several and a very large variety of career options available to all of you. And you must choose your calling in a very, very, again, in a very sapient manner. It should not be some kind of a follow the next person in the line and keep going in a particular direction. You need to look inwards, look within yourselves, and find out what is the calling that motivates you the most. And if you can get in touch with your inner self and find that inner voice which tells you which particular area, which particular direction to go into, then I am sure that you would have done a great service to yourself. So you must all take time to to weigh various options, various alternatives that are there before you, and make a optimal decision for yourself also. I think that is also very important, and it is something that you owe to yourselves. And ultimately, if all of you end up doing things which motivate you, in which you are good at, that will be good for the society as a whole also. So I actually it's a one way lecture, and in this kind of a online environment where I'm actually not able to see the participants. So at times, it is not very easy to understand how and in which way the audience is reacting, or even from being able to watch other people's faces, one is able to realize whether the content of what I am saying is actually making sense to you, or is that the direction in which you want to hear me talking. So in the absence of all that, I think I would also ask the two MCs if we can have a small interactive session also with some of your students, and in that sense I'll be able to better meet some of the the questions or the views, the concerns which some of you might be having. And from my experience, from my background of having had a management education and then having been in the public service for the last 30 years, I think I will be able to answer some of those questions, satisfy your queries. So I hand over the podium now, sort of, back to the MCs to take forward this this event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for an insightful speech. We are grateful for your time that you have spared to share your thoughts and experience with the students. Since we are entering a new growth phase post-pandemic, your comments were very timely. Your enthusiasm is contagious, and we hope to put in practice the knowledge and wisdom that you have shared with us. The house is open for questions now. Anmol, I'll request you to please take up the questions.
Thank you, Ocean. So the first question has been put up by Juhi. It says, Kate Buckley, a leader of a media firm in LA, in a recent article on Forbes, had mentioned that the best way to create a purpose-driven business is to lead a purpose-driven life. Too many leaders try to create a mission statement after the fact, but the most effective purpose-driven businesses start from the outset with the question why. On that note, keeping the challenges businesses are increasingly facing every day, what would be your take on business leaders adapting their way of life and beliefs to the business they are running or vice versa?
I think the statement that you read out is very relevant. And in fact, it is very timely also, given the concerns that all of us now face because of the COVID crisis. And this whole question of, asking why is again one of the ways by which you will end up taking a rational decision. A decision for anything, for your business, for activities within the chosen business, it's very critical always to keep asking why and how that action of yours is going to help in achieving the objective, the mission statement, as you said, that you've set for yourself. It's very important, I feel, that all the organizational players should attach themselves to the mission statement of the organization. The mission of the organization has to be very clearly defined. If you are the leader of the organization, it is your job to enunciate the mission very clearly. And if you are one of those in the organization who are following the leader, then it is your duty, it is your obligation, if you are a part of the organization, to help achieve the objectives of the mission. But you should definitely always keep asking why, and keep asking in what sense the decisions that you are taking are helping to fulfill the mission of your organization. You must always take that into account while finalizing your decision. I think this is my take on the statement that you read out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for such an insightful answer. The next question that has come up is, what new direction public-private partnerships should take in this independent world that we talk about?
I think it's very critical, particularly for countries like India, where public resources are limited, that private partnership in various public programs becomes a norm rather than an exception that it is today. I think that unfortunately in our country, the public domain has increasingly got enlarged over the last so many decades. The public involvement, I mean public, I mean government involvement, has increased in many spheres of life of private individuals, and at times this involvement has increased so much that the private initiative has in fact shrunk back and has almost got extinguished, so that everything has become dependent and everything has become a responsibility of the government. I think that is a very dangerous trend, because if you, as private individuals or private organizations, stop taking charge of some of the activities which happen around you and become totally dependent on the government, and if the government fails to perform, then the society as a whole is a loser. So I personally feel that the private sector, the private NGOs, private citizens, private volunteer groups, all of them must play a very active role, must play a very, not just an active, a proactive role. They should handle as many issues, as many social issues as they can on their own. And, on their, from their side, they should keep pushing for larger and larger amount of public-private partnership, so that the outcomes in every sector which are vital, those outcomes become better. If we keep depending on the government, then you might unfortunately end up with suboptimal results. So it's very important to give this public-private partnership area a lot more attention than it has been given so far.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure the question has been answered well. The next question has come up by Sameer Walia. He says, as you were the management graduate and then joined civil services, uh, he is also a civil service aspirant. His question to you is, how you applied your management education and skills you acquired during your MBA in civil services job?
I think it's only the nature of problems which is different in the civil service than what you will face in the private sector, in the corporations that you will work for. So the management education is always handy, is always very helpful because it gives you a grounding for taking decisions with a lot of wisdom and a lot of rationality. I think that is the key, as I mentioned during my address also to you. So whichever decision we are taking, we have to, think the earlier question about why all that comes into place, comes into, action here in the public sector also, in the public service also. And in fact, I think it's very important that a larger number of management graduates join the public service, so that the level and quality of public service in our country can also be improved further. And therefore, if you are an aspirant, I would really urge you to, prepare hard for it, try and get into the best possible service that you can, so that you can, apply your studies, apply your skills for meeting various objectives of the public service that are very much required in our country.
Thank you, sir. The next question has been asked by Gautam sir. Given the increasing uncertainty in environmental factors on one side, example, the pandemic, climate change, and rapid technological change on the other hand, example, the smart cities, EVs, remote work, etc., how do policymakers proactively plan for the long term, especially for a growing city like Gurugram?
There is always a structured way in which we plan. We do have master plans for the next decade or the next 20 years. There is a very scientific and an established system by which you project, populations, you project the requirements of those populations of basic infrastructure such as roads, water, electricity, sewage, drainage. Drainage, as you can see now, is such a big problem in metros. We are having our cities getting flooded very regularly. So, and then we do also take into account the ways by which technology will help us on its own to solve some of the problems. Although I don't think anybody can really, do crystal gazing and be sure about what new technology will, come up in the future. And whatever new technology comes up is always going to be helpful in solving some of these problems. For example, now that today we are having this virtual management festival, so it means if 400 of you are here who have joined, it means that there are 400 less cars on the roads. All of you are probably sitting in your own homes or at one place, and we are all not moving from one place to the other. So this is a great boon which technology has given us, which most of us could not have foreseen a few years back. So we have to depend on the projections that we make, and then also have a strong belief and faith in technological solutions. And I'm very optimistic that mankind can always keep solving all the problems which nature would throw at it, and will always come out to be a great survivor. Mankind has survived for the last thousands of years, and I'm sure we'll keep doing better now in the future also.
Thank you, sir. Your thoughts are valuable. Another question has come up. It has been asked by Ronak. It says, sir, in the post-pandemic world, what do you think are the strategies that can help the organization to grow sustainability?
Sorry, to grow sustainably.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, you see, post-COVID world has changed, as I was mentioning, and you know, we cannot because to some extent it seems that COVID was a result of you know too much of greed and too much of expansionist or overconsumption, which probably happened in certain parts of the world, and the virus then moved from animals to human beings because of over exploitation. So we have to have this inner restraint, some kind of a self control, not just as individuals but also as organizations. So when uh, as corporates, you are uh, creating value for your companies, you also have to have goals of zero carbon footprints, zero discharge. In fact, in Gurugram, we request all the companies to have zero wastewater discharge, to use less water, to pollute less. So all these things I can understand are are costly, but these costs have to be borne by the organizations, on even by individuals. As individuals also, we must make sure that we switch off the lights, we go less on the roads as much as we can. So all of us have to have sustainable policies which are full of inner restraint, self control, and that needs to be explained to the general public, and as corporates, maybe to your shareholders, to your owners. And I'm sure once these are properly explained, the owners and the public will also appreciate, and that by itself can create a brand value for the corporation. So one should think on those lines, definitely, for sustainable growth.
Thank you, sir. Your viewpoint was extremely valuable. The next question has come up from Uma sir's side. The minimum government and the maximum governance objective. How do we design such a strategy and implement the same, given the resource gaps and social disparities that we face in our country?
I think this slogan of minimum government and maximum governance is very apt. And the idea should be, as someone else also put it in their own words, they said that regulate light, but regulate tight. The governments have to focus on, it's like those ABC analysis that we do in our management classes. Out of a set of problems, you have to focus on key problems, the A segment of the problems which are going to have the maximum impact, and then be very firm in regulating those. If as governments we spread our energy into too many areas, minimum government means spread your energy into lesser and lesser number of areas, and then allow then your energy gets dissipated. So it's very critical. Now, for example, you would have all heard that now our government is thinking of banning another another product. There are so many bans in our country, so now cryptocurrency is also going to be banned. So I wonder, and all of you must think about it, whether banning is always the best solution. Banning means government is increasing, government is taking on one more responsibility on itself. So whether that would actually help in solving the problem, or it would push the problem under the carpet and then become even more difficult to handle. So these are some of the issues which are always relevant, and I personally believe that we should restrict the the areas in which the government plays itself out, and then play well in those areas. That should be the key for good governance.
Sure, sir. The next question has been asked by a student. What was the calling or purpose shift that you had when you studied management and later IAS?
I think it is a continuum. I don't think there is a shift as such, because somehow it is all in our minds that management is all about private sector only. It is a continuum, and it is a good, I feel, a good step forward if you can move from your management studies into public administration and public service. Definitely, it all depends on what your interests are, and how you want to, which kind of issues you want to tackle in life. So I believe that when I now look back and think about it, then in my mind, perhaps at that time was wanting that I should be able to take decisions which impact the maximum number of people. So that is one way, by joining the public service, that you can take such decisions. And if you take good decisions, then you will have a good impact on the largest number of people. So it's all a continuum, and one can seamlessly move from management to public administration. Trust me, all of you, if you want to do that, you can do that.
Sure, sir. The next question is related to the technology trends that has been asked by Mudit sir. How is the government of Haryana using or planning to use digital platforms and artificial intelligence in different areas of governance? Are there plans to build skills, digital awareness at schools and college levels?
Yeah, government of Haryana is very aggressive about using digital technology. Most of the services and programs that the government now offers are all offered on the digital platforms. The approach is to have minimum human face-to-face contact, and the idea is that the citizen should have maximum comfort in terms of availing various services, or various, in terms of getting various permissions from the government. So databases are being created. I'm sure artificial intelligence that you're talking about will also get used in using that data. But then, as many a time, we feel that there are privacy concerns also. So it's a double-edged sword, because the governments can, at times when they control too much of data, they can have a tendency to become repressive also. So that is one area, I think, in which the citizens should guard themselves, and be always vigilant about it, that the data that they share with the government, there should be no scope for its misuse. But on the other hand, the data is very much required, because if it is properly used, then it can help us in solving many problems of the citizens much more efficiently. It helps in reducing leakages. It helps in identifying the right kind of beneficiaries. And I think now there is no escape from it. in all our schools, even in government schools. And this was one of the positive spin-offs of the corona crisis, that use of digital content, digital education, all that has become very common. It has become a norm, and more children now, at least in Haryana, I can say with confidence, will be quite comfortable with the use of digital technology, and that is a very healthy side. And governments are working very aggressively towards it. Can we have one or two last questions, please?
Sir, I have got a small question actually. You've been working for Gurgaon for a long time and have made very positive contribution to the city. Now, what new exciting projects are on the way for the people and organizations like us, which can really motivate us?
See, we are trying to, set up better and more developed infrastructure for the city. You see, the city needs a new metro line. So we've already got a 28-kilometer metro line, which will go all around the city. That has already been made, the project has already been approved by the center, and the work has to start. Then we are looking at providing more water, you see, because the population of the city is expected to go up exponentially by 2031, and the requirement of water will also go up by 3 times. So we are preparing plans for now. That is one aspect which I was mentioning, that at the end of the day, some of these resources are very limited. Like water is a very highly limited resource, and in Gurugram we don't have underground water which is potable. All the water has to be brought from about 150 kilometers away from the Yamuna, from after tapping it from Sonipat district. So we have to increase the capacity of those channels. We have to make them more efficient, and we are setting up new water treatment plants so that we can supply water both to the new corporates and to the general population which will start residing in Gurugram. As far as giving preparing more infrastructure for institutions like yours, I think we have now created a policy framework whereby it has become easier to set up such institutes. Some of you who might be aware that for every city we develop these plans which freeze the land use on which different kinds of activities can be taken up. So setting up of educational institutions has now been allowed even in agriculture zones, which are the land which is actually supposed to be used only for agriculture. But if you want to set up an educational institution, government will allow you to do that. So the idea is that more and more such institutions should come up, and they should be there to improve the skills and productivity of our young minds. So we will set up a very enabling environment for the institutes and for the city as a whole in Gurgaon in the coming few years.
Thank you, sir. It's very motivating for us, actually, what you said. Let me assure you that we at Great Lakes Gurgaon, we have a fantastic team of faculty members, and we are known for our analytics, the domain. If we can come to of any use to the government of Haryana, we'll be more than happy and proud to do so. With this, I think we should try to now close it because he has got a time constraint. Over to MC.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure the questions have been answered really well. Over to you, Sahil.
Thanks, Anmol, for posing the questions. We would now request Dr. Umashankar Venkatesh, Director, PGPM, Great Lakes Institute of Management, Gurgaon, to deliver the thank you note. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, MCs. It is my distinct pleasure to propose a vote of thanks to this keynote session. Allow me to start with you, sir, respected chief guest and keynote speaker, Mr. Sudhir Rajpal, Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Haryana, and the CEO of GMDA as well as FMDA. Thank you, sir, for sparing time to be with us. And I thought your thought of connecting the word sapient with what students need to do was very well taken, and we get lost in the managing part of the what you call conclave, and sometimes the name itself, when it was coined with great effort and thought, and you reiterated that. Thank you. And the purpose-driven aspect comes up with your persona itself when you, graduating from IIM Ahmedabad, decided to join the civil services. And in all humility, you consider that transition seamless. And that itself is a mark of being purpose-driven. And thank you so much for taking your time and answering all our questions. I also wish that there was more time for the other 400 people who are there maybe in the queue to ask some questions. Thank you very much. My thanks also to the member of the Board of Governors, Mohan Lakhamraju, our chairman, Mr. Gautam Lakhamraju, member of the board, as well as our CMO, to have supported the engagement and this arrangement of Sapiens 2021. Professor Sanyal, Director, Great Lakes, thanks goes to him to be the driving force behind this occasion and this conduct of this program. All faculty members who have a continuing role to play in Sapiens. Sir, as you are aware, there would be about 5 more panels spread across finance, marketing, operations, etc. And there would be industry leaders who would be participating in each of these panels, 4 to 5 industry leaders in each of these panels. And this is a multi-day affair. So we are looking at a very, very rigorous and enriching series of panel discussions. Thank you all the MCs and all the students, and Professor Kirti Sharma especially. A word of thanks for her spirit and energy and force which drives Sapiens 2021. All the students for being such good listeners, and I see still 400 plus attendees. That's purpose-driven enough for me. Thank you so much, sir. Allow me to now close my vote of thanks. Thank you, MCs.
Thank you so much, sir. It was indeed a very knowledgeable session. And this gets us to the end of the inaugural session of Sapiens 2021. We look forward to seeing you all in the first panel discussion in the marketing domain tomorrow at 6 p.m. Have a great day ahead.